right. Real Talk is live. How you doing, Jessica? Jessica, now is it warm out in Florida, or is it miserable and raining like it is out here in California?
Oh my goodness. Well, hello. Good morning to everyone. Good morning to you, Mark. Thank you for having me on the show. Right now, Florida is a little temperamental with the weather. I don't know what's going on. We woke up to 32 degrees and now it's creeping up to about 40 or 50. And I'm sure by the end of the day, we'll be in the 70s. So
Oh,
it's temperamental. It's like a woman, whatever it feels that day is what's gonna
that's
happen.
what it,
So
that's what it
yeah.
feels. Say now, see,
I
being a woman,
I
you
can
can say
say it.
that. Could you
I can
imagine
say
if I flipped script and said that? Oh my gosh, the hate mail would just
I can
pour in.
say it, you can't. I'm
That's
temperamental. The
correct.
weather's like a woman today. Yeah.
All right. Well, let me introduce you a little bit. Okay. I have Jessica Roman today. She's on my little bit of your bio here says is a woman who loves fun and adventure. Born in Brooklyn, New York, she moved to Florida with her parents as a teenager. Growing up in a strict and traditional Hispanic household, she found it hard to live up to expectations of her parents. The oldest of four, she has helped raise her younger siblings as her parents struggled to provide. She remembers working in the kitchen as a mother's right hand as the family of six depended on her for daily survival. It was in the kitchen where she discovered the love of creativity, music, art, and creativity quickly became her love languages. Yeah, it seems like you just grew up, a hard worker, and that's probably what you got today. So, right, there's always something positive that comes out of the negative. Correct?
I agree. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely. Yep.
There she is. See, Raul's already on. Do you see that? So,
He's
Raul,
my
I
big
got a cup
fan.
just for you today. You see this thing here? It says, "Don't poke the bear." Just so you know, he's laughing right now. So,
He's cracked up. He loves it.
yeah, he's a good guy. We like Raul. So let's talk about. We got people popping on already. So any questions out there for once we get going? And let's you guys go ahead and ask, and I'll ask away, and we'll see what we can get today. So Jessica, let's talk about your. Let's talk about that upbringing a little bit. So that's probably kind of what you drove to be. So if you had a strict Hispanic household, why don't you speak to that? What does that mean?
For some who don't know, our culture is very traditional, and I grew up, a product of teenage parents. My dad jokes. He said, "I saw your mother coming off the bus, and I was working at a pizza shop at 16 and 17 years old. I saw her, and I knew I wanted her." They had a relationship, and I was created right out of wedlock. He married her. That was the thing that we're supposed to do, right? You're supposed to marry her. So he married my mom, had three other kids, and they wanted a better life for us than they had for themselves, as most parents do, right? You want better for your kids than you have for yourself. So my dad was very strict on me. I couldn't get away with anything, and my mother was respectful to his headship. So everything had to be perfect. Everything had to be in order. I was the oldest of four, so they often leaned on me to help create meals. They were both working parents at the time, and I was the oldest. I was the only one that they had to lean on. So when it came to schoolwork, I had to get an A. If I got a B, it wasn't good enough. When it
Hmm.
came to cleaning the house, he would sometimes get a white glove and go behind me checking to make sure that there was no specks of dirt left behind because it had to be perfect. And I grew up with that idea of perfectionism that if it wasn't all the way right, it wasn't enough. I always strove for perfection and overachievement because that's the standard that I was that introduced to, and I had no other, ways of comparing it to anything else in the world because I was young. So that's how I grew up.
So is mom and dad still together today, and are they still with you?
You know what? They did what they had to do. They were together 25 years, raised all of their
Uh-huh.
kids. There's four of us, and it's one of those things where you grow apart, right? You kind of
Right.
made a decision when you were young. You did what you had to do, and when everybody was okay, they made the decision to go their separate ways.
Got it. I because listening to your story, because my folks were married at 18 and 16. Yeah, and
Mm,
they're still married today, 62 years later. But
that's
it was, um, I kind of came from that kind of home. My parents were hardworking and strict. And but that's what creates us today too. You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
I play, man. When it comes time to get up and get after it, then that's what we do. So you got to, I wouldn't trade that myself. I wouldn't trade it for anything because I know that that entrepreneur spirit came from my folks, and
Hmm.
dad's work ethic was and still is today, just par from none. It's just kind of who I am.
Yeah.
But well, we get no children for you just yet, right?
Oh, no kids, not yet, not yet.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So I as you become folks, you'll figure out how to take the good and the bad, and we'll go from there. You know what I mean? So that's good. So you started
Yeah.
in Brooklyn, New York, huh? That's where you were born, huh?
Hmm. Was born in Brooklyn.
Wow,
I'm a city girl. I'm gonna Wolf
wow,
Club,
Wolf.
Wolf Cubs. I knew he was gonna say something. Yeah, I was born in New York. I'm a city girl. I still love the city very, very much. But it's a hard life up there. It
Mm,
does for a family of four. My father found it very hard to give us the lifestyle that we wanted. So he made a decision. It was under hard circumstances that he rented a van and just brought all of us down here. I literally remember one day going to school. The next day, I was like, "Dad, are we going to school?" We woke up, we were packing our stuff, and he's like, "No, we're moving," and we drove to Florida. It was that decision that was the catalyst for a lot of other good decisions that helped the foundation, create the foundation for who I am today.
yeah, that's quite. I guess that's a little bit culture shock. How old were you when that happened? When that went down?
Uh, I was 9. I was
So
9.
you were 9. So you kind of been in Florida now for. I guess that would be your home, huh? Yeah.
I would consider it my home. I love it here. But one thing
Yeah.
about growing up in the city, and for anyone who's ever been in the city, it's immersive. So at a young age, my impressionable age, I always got that. I have one of these personalities that just I love and I love excitement. I love adventure. I'm a risk taker, because I grew up and I saw that type of lifestyle. In Florida, it's a lot more stable and slow, and that's good too. But I'm blessed to have that, hustle spirit, having that
Yeah.
foundation of being a city, and it's helping with my entrepreneurship. My mom laughs. She says, "You got your looks from me, but you got your personality from your dad."
Yes.
She'll say stuff like that because he taught his daughters how to survive. That was his role, but it also turned into kind of an interesting dynamic because I didn't necessarily feel love from him,
Mm,
and from a woman's perspective, our fathers are our first boyfriends, if you want to say that. We're the ones that we get the standard of love from. They're the ones. So because he was so hard on me, he was very strict, and I was always looking to get his approval. That's what I thought love was. I never felt love. And maybe, we had the discussion later on that maybe he couldn't give it to me at that time. He was young trying to figure out life, had the pressures of a family, and he made mistakes that he apologized for later. But then that brought on the question of who am I and how do I truly love myself? Do I even love myself? And do I know what love is? So
yeah,
growing up,
that's
yeah,
that's well, I find that interesting that you say that because I have a daughter, right? I have 3 boys and a daughter, and now I raised my children, and I've been divorced now for 20 years, so I raised my kids, so I wasn't a weekend dad.
yeah.
And listening to you say that as a daughter, now I'm gonna have to go home and talk to my daughter and ask her, "Hey, I just had this podcast today. How did your pops do on that?" She's 21 now. You know what I mean? And you are correct that my daughters are. I definitely well, she was raised with all boys, so 3 brothers and a dad like myself. I'm kind of hard. I would I'll take a bullet for my those that I love. You know what I mean? So um, that's interesting that you talked about that what from a female's perspective, what they're looking at from a dad.
Yeah,
Well,
and
what
I
would have
think
been just man, what
guys,
would have been different then? What would have been different?
just the little things. Oftentimes you may hear like, "Oh, women, we need time." And it's not necessarily that we want to talk, or men often want to fix the problem, but we want to feel safe and secure in your presence. That's love for me now. but at such an early age, I couldn't express it to him. I didn't even know what I needed. But
Hmm.
because his idea of providing, working, he had to take care of all of us. He thought he was doing the right thing by providing, right? Going to work, paying the bills. That was love for him. That was the cycle of love that he had seen in his from his father. So he thought he was doing a good job. But from a woman's perspective, we need safety and security. And I saw my dad there, but I never like felt an emotional attachment. It was always a respect thing, which I think is needed, but you should also balance that with love.
Yeah, that's that's unique. Well, I will tell you this from a man's perspective, that is exactly what we think. You know, our job is to provide and protect, at whatever means that is, and then you would see that. Um, I guess that's true even in my marriage, right? That was my deal. I mean, I'd work from sun up to sundown, and then go back and work some more, just to make sure I provide, and that is kind of our language of love. So you're right. There are just they're just just two different perspectives from what men really think and what they are. So it's good. It's good to hear that from um from your perspective to hear. So now see, now I'm gonna have to go home and talk to my daughter today. You know what I mean? After this, I'm gonna ask her these questions and
And
see
the
what she
only
has.
reason why I even bring that up like that, Mark, is not to point the finger, right? It oftentimes I have clients who have had these cycles of the same experiences as me. And if we can get them at the root, at their childhood, we can prevent a lot of the cycles of unhealthy habits. Like for me, being that I didn't know what love was, I anybody who showed me any attention, I paid attention to them. Talking about guys. So I would
Mm.
go out with different types of men, just trying to figure out what my dynamic was, what was true chemistry, and had I had a better foundation of what I was supposed to have, what it truly was supposed to feel like, I would have made better decisions. It took me a long time to realize I wasn't happy in any dynamic because I didn't know what love was for me first. And it was, not to jump too far ahead, but it was after a period of healing in my life where I was intentional with taking some courses, reflecting on my past experiences, healing the hurts that, where I previously pointed the fingers, said, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, took responsibility for my own actions, that I was able to find happiness in myself and with the partner. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so. I guess that sets the stage for, and now those that don't know you, that what you do is when you talk about your baking, and people don't. That's kind of what you've. That's the business that you started before coaching. Is that correct?
Oh yes. One thing about baking, I've always been a creative person because my foundation was in the kitchen, right? My mom taught me everything she knew. It was my comfort space. I love to play and bake. So although I had a corporate job, I would do what I had to do, right? I was taught to go to school, make a living for yourself, and at night I would just go in the kitchen and play. And I took some classes to kind of refine my skills, and that was where I could really express the emotions that were bottled up during the day, because we get through the day, right? We're thinking, oh, I have to go to work, we're running the rat race, I have these errands to run, I have these bills to pay, I have these people to call back, I have these emails to answer. And at night is when you can be still. So being that there was so much going on in my life, the kitchen was my place of therapy. That's where I could really express what I was feeling and come out of the kitchen feeling better than I had entering, if that makes sense.
Right. So you took that, you took that, and then went to the next level with it. Then you started. Now, did you start it as a side hustle? Is that what you did? Did you keep your corporate job and kind of do that as a side? People, it's like people, like in my own school, right? I used to hate to wait for people to do T-shirts, so I learned how to do them myself, right? I learned how to silk screen. And I had, but before I knew it, I already had a side hustle with every other school wanting me to make their T-shirts and do the stuff that I did there. Now, is that kind of what happened in your world because
You
of your
know what?
baking?
That's a good question. I'm glad you answered it. I actually had no idea that I could even start a business. It was my friends and family who told me that I should. So I would
Ah,
give away the products for free. I mean, again, it wasn't my intention to sell or make money. It was, hey, I made this and I just want to, bless you with it and give it away. was up until one of my friends who was a graphic design artist. She she called me over to her house one day and was like, Jesse, you really have to come now. And I was like, okay, whatever, I'll go. So she had surprised me with her gifts, and she made me a website. She made me some business cards. This was back in 2013. Made me some business cards and said, pick a date on the calendar. We're throwing you a grand opening party. And I'm like, what is this? I'm thinking to myself, what are you talking about? I have to show. She's like, all you have to do is just show up. We're planning everything. You have your business cards, you're going to do this. You have to create a menu, of course, because that's the one thing I can't do for you, but we believe in your talents and abilities, and this is where you shine. So you really should sell your product. And grudgingly, I was just like, okay, that was 2013. I did it part-time. So I had someone else believe in me where I didn't believe in myself at that time. Look at the universe bringing you what you need at the right time, right? I didn't step out for myself. My friend did it for me. And I just, day after day, people would ask me to make things and I would put a price to it. I didn't even know what I was doing. I'm like, I think it should be $20, $30, $40. I
Right.
had no idea about this, whatever. I really wanted to give it away for free, but I knew I had to charge something. So that's how it started. And 10 years later, it's evolved. Yeah.
So that's how it started. So you had some friends that went ahead and encouraged you to pick it up and made you business cards and stuff. Did you now? What is your forte? Was it cakes? Is that what you did, or was it what was your forte to start with? What's your
Oh
kind of
my.
your signature stuff that you did?
Well, living in the South, people are very particular with their desserts here. There's red velvet cake is one of the most common ones. So oftentimes people knew I was a baker, they would request red velvet cake. And because I do everything from scratch, I researched the recipes, I tried them because I was a perfectionist, right? This is me. If I'm not going to do it all the way, I'm not going to do it at all. So I researched all of the recipes, Mark. And then it was a whole system. People would think I'm an overthinker. I researched all the recipes, and then I tried all 5 or 10 of them out, and then I tasted and I tested them with my market. Which one is the best? What could I change differently? And then I came up with my own recipe. So it was that process that over 10 years that red velvet cake is probably the most popular. Then I got into creativity, cake pops. That became a trend where there's the cake on a stick, and
Right.
kids love them. So I started dabbling into those YouTube videos with my friend because I couldn't afford culinary school, but I knew I had the internet, and I knew I could at night I could listen to videos and practice while I was listening to videos. And I would do that every single day. My job when I got home from work was to have dinner, and then I would go in the kitchen and experiment, which gave me more menu items. And it continually grew until I got into wedding cakes and all kind of custom stuff, which is what I do today. I'm a custom cake decorator. Yeah.
So you are the cake boss from the South.
If you want to call me the cake queen, like that, most people call me the motivational caker, but yeah, I'll say cake boss, cake queen. I should have worn my crown today.
That's
I don't.
right.
I should have worn it on here for you. Yeah.
Yeah, I it's always been something to see. Well, any kind of art form is always kind of um and creativity has been something that I've always respected, people that have that kind of that artistic ability. And my kids have that. I can draw some stick people, but that's about it. Uh so that seeing somebody that has that artistic ability has always been kind of something to fun. And so I've got to see some of your stuff now. What was it like when you got because wedding cakes now, they can be on the pricey side now. So what did that look like when you started getting that kind of a business? Now, is that when you stopped? When did you stop your corporate thing and jumped in?
Okay. So that's a two-part question. I got into wedding cakes again when I was asked to do them. So, it's like my business progressed and I got exposed to different people. And there was a wedding cake venue here closer to where I lived who heard about my cakes. She just asked me, hey, are you open to doing some designs? And I had a cake tasting with the wedding cake venue owner. and we started with a contract right there and then. So it just starts by your exposure, your word of mouth. I would tell anybody who's are starting a business, don't worry so much about the glitz and glams of a website, of cards. It really is word of mouth. And when you follow through by someone's recommendation, and then your product stands up to what the reputation is, you get business. That's just one of the things. I left my corporate job actually. So it was back in 2013 when I started my business part time, to answer your question.
Mm-hmm.
And for in my mind, I always went back and forth, Mark. Like, what if I really gave myself a chance to make it out in the world? What if I put my skills to the test? But then I'm fighting with myself. I'm living in two worlds, 8 to 5, right? That corporate kind of workspace, and then at home being the creative, the motivational caker. And it was last year, actually, 2022, that I had developed a condition called Bell's palsy. I don't know if you're familiar with
Oh
it.
yeah, I know what that is. That
So,
sucks.
so Mark, literally one day I woke up, right? I just woke up one day and I went to go brush my teeth as we all do, and I had a hard time spitting out the water. The water just kind of drooled to the right side of my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked up in the mirror. I'm like, wow, what's wrong? And my right side, my eyebrow, my cheek, and my everything was just like lopsided. So I got immediately scared. If you can imagine looking at
Right.
yourself and you don't look like yourself, like what is going on? I went to the ER and they did some tests and I thought I had a stroke. It was so scary. They took me immediately because they also thought I had a stroke too, but it turned out to be it wasn't neurological. It was just one of my nerves was frozen in that controlled one side of my face. And the doctors, naturally, my next question was like, I couldn't speak, so I had to write it down. What's my prognosis? When can I get healed? And the doctor told me, I don't know. We don't know if you can even be healed. It's one of those mystery diagnoses. We don't. What you can do is reduce your stress, go home and wait it out, and maybe take some physical therapy classes. If you get your function back, that your face will look the same again. So it
That's
was during those, it was about
so
3 months
sad.
that I took a leave off of
Yeah.
work. It was about 3 months that I actually stayed in the house. And that was in hindsight, I see that was God's way of sitting me down and setting me straight on what my purpose was. I started taking the healing courses. I started journaling because, again, I was embarrassed to go outside because my face looked like Quasimodo. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I don't know if I can get healed. So it was just me and God for about 3 months. I took all the time to rest and relax and reflect. And he healed me from. Uh-oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Um, he healed me from a lot of things that were lingering in my subconscious. The things that I felt were holding me back. And when I returned after, eventually I got my feeling back in my face. It was crucial. It was like excruciating to go to physical therapy, and I was felt like I was doing exercises and lifting weights with my face for 3 months. But it finally came back aligned. And when I returned back to my corporate job, everyone that was happy to see me, but they were surprised at this new personality. Before I was very shy and meek and kind of conformative and would fit into the box and the mold that they wanted me to stay in. But now I was so much more outspoken with opinions because God had revealed so much more to me. And now I wasn't afraid to speak. I wasn't afraid to tell my truth. If something was wrong, I would say it. I quickly
Mm-hmm.
realized, I was like, wait a minute, this is not my lane anymore. I don't fit in here anymore. I've grown out of the fishbowl. So because I had a skill set that I had been playing with for 10 years, and now I had the confidence to truly step out on my own. It was April of 2022 that I decided it's time for me to get to bet on me. And it's been almost a year. Mhm.
That's that's quite a story. That Bell's palsy happened to one of my instructors also,
Oh my goodness.
and one of my martial arts and one of my Hapkido instructor. It happened to him, and I remember that too. And that same thing. I'm sure that's just a scary thing. But What was that like when it came back? Were you like, all right, it's coming, it's coming, you know?
Oh my goodness. You know what? It was the small victories when I could finally see what happens is one side of your face you get completely numb. You can't feel
Hmm.
anything. Like when you go to the dentist and they put Novocaine,
Right.
imagine one whole side of your face where you don't feel anything at all. You could punch me on this side and I wouldn't have felt anything. So when my nerves started to get a little bit of tingling, that's how it started. You feel a little bit of tingling, kind of like when your leg goes to sleep, you feel a little tingling.
Right.
I started to feel some tingling by my ear, and that got me excited. So I would tell my physical therapist, hey, I feel a little bit of tingling or coming back. And he was like, yeah, that's a good sign. So again, we would do our exercises. I had to hold my eyebrow up for 10 seconds and then relax it, hold it up for 10 seconds and relax it. And if you've ever lifted weights, it felt like I was lifting 100 pounds because my muscles were not getting any blood flow. So I would go home with headaches while I was healing after physical therapy for 3 months, but still excited that my feeling was coming back. So it started with my eyebrow. I felt tingling by my ear, and then it would start, my cheek. I could raise my cheek a little bit up, and then my crooked smile eventually, came back all
Right.
the way. So, and for a woman, that's it, because we're prideful about our looks.
Well, yeah, that's true.
So when I started get my lips back, I'm like, yay, I can smile again. I can smile again. I don't look crazy. So
Listen to you tell the story. I can see how I think that's what's transformational, probably what you're talking about, those kind of things. Um, the fight that you do to come back from something like that, um, the mindset that you have to have, you know, that stuff, I was life changing stuff that to me a few years ago when I had double blood clots in my lungs that I didn't know about, and I thought I wasn't even supposed to be here. And I remember, I don't know if you experienced this or not. I'd be interested to know. But when I was in the hospital, I'm trying to be the positive one because it was killing my folks, and I have all these students making sure that Mr. Cox is going to be okay. And so I'm always had a smile on my face. Let's go, oh man, we're rocking. And I remember sitting there by myself, going, man, what the frick is going on, man? And and I had this fear of having a stroke. And I kept asking God, hey, please don't stroke me out. Just take me home if we're going to do that. Okay, let's just be done with it. And I was like that for 6 months. It wasn't until I had a real shift in my mindset that I was able to. I told myself one day that, listen, you're not living like this anymore. So you're going to have to figure out and change your lifestyle or whatever it is you're going to do and change your mindset. And I completely changed overnight, one night, and said, I'm not living like that anymore. I don't know if you experienced that same thing going through that, but I can see why you felt that you weren't part of that anymore in that corporate world.
Um, and Mark, thank you for sharing that story because we often see the person, but we don't know the story behind the person. So,
Hmm.
I've always been attracted to your level of depth and what depth when you speak, your messages. But to know that you also went through a transformational part in your life, it makes me relate to you more. It's like, wow, this is the real deal. It's just not, oh, you woke up one day and wanted a different life. No, some crap happened, right? The real
Hmm.
happened to you,
That's
to where
correct.
you're like, it's life or death. For me, I'm a spiritual person. I have a relationship with God, and He told me that everything in my quiet time, that everything that I had gone through was for a purpose, and my purpose was to share it and to help others heal, like He had healed me. So I was supposed to be a speaker, and He took away my ability to speak so that I can understand what it was not to have a voice, not to be able to form my lips to have projection in my message. And it almost killed me. I cried every night because I could not speak. So when I was finally excited to see my nerve function coming back and I could fully be healed, I talked so much. I talk so much and so boldly now. But he told me, you're a speaker. You're an influencer. I let you go through what you went through in your childhood so that you could go back and reach back for the young girls who need you, who are still struggling with their self-esteem, their level of self-worth, because they didn't have the father figure in their lives to help them understand who their what the identity was. So now my goal is to, with my creative angle, to help others build their self-esteem, build their self-confidence, and express the emotions that they can't find the words to express. That's the foundation of Yummy Coaching Factory. And once we get to the real root, then that's when we do the work. That's when we can do the work. Yeah.
Yeah, I yeah, I can totally see, just in this, our short time here that yeah, the transformation uh isn't God something? We pray for wisdom and then he'll throw a curveball right at us. You want wisdom? Well, think your way out. And
Right.
so you always be careful what you pray for because you will get an answer. Whether it's what you want or not is a whole nother ball game. But yeah, that's quite a thing. So, well, that's kind of what we're jumping into. So now we've kind of got a backstory on what you've done. Now you've taken the cooking or the baking. Now, do you cook too, or is baking what you do? Is that your forte?
I love both. And it's interesting you asked that question because you either see people in one arena or the other, right? Either you're a baker, you're a creative specialist, a dessert specialist, or you're a chef. But because I learned from the best of the best. My mother, she's an amazing cook, and I had to create full meals. Actually, I remember this one time she called me from her job. Again, they were working parents trying to raise a family of six. So she called me on her lunch break at work and was like, Jessica, I really need you to start boiling spaghetti for dinner. The kids are hungry. And might have been 9 or 10 years old. I'm like, Ma, how do I boil spaghetti? How do I make the meat? How do I do all this stuff? I don't know. So she instructed me over the phone the steps. Get the pot, put the water in the pot, boil the noodles, and then you put the meat, you take out the meat, you brown the meat first, you put the seasonings. So she instructed me over the phone how to make spaghetti in one day. And it was like so eye-opening. It was so gratifying to create something with my own hands and to have other people enjoy it. To get the
Mm.
praise that, oh, I had done a good job, and I served it, and my siblings enjoyed it. Everybody ate it. This was amazing. So I'm a chef first, but I found that my love for creativity was the X factor in me going into desserts. Spaghetti is spaghetti. The recipe is the recipe, right? You have it one time, you've had it a million times. But with the creativity aspect of desserts, I can dabble in different colors. I can tint buttercreams different shape, different colors. I can mold fondant into shapes, and that's what keeps it interesting for me. It'll never get boring because I have the creativity factor for baking.
That's yeah, that's interesting. So you've you had a have you always did you when you had your baking stuff, so you had that career, when did you decide that coaching is going to be part of this, or has it always been? How did that evolve into a coaching business along with it?
It's funny. I love my customers, and a lot of them have been repeat customers for years. And often they would order cakes just so that they had a reason to come to my house and have a conversation. And that's how open I am. If I know you, if I love you, if you put your heart in your food. So it wasn't just me selling a cake to my customers; they were getting my heart. I would know their kids' birthdays, their wedding anniversaries, and when I baked their tart or whatever it is they ordered, it was my heart in there. So I would want to know, hey, how did the occasion turn out? Or what are some of the challenges you're having when you're planning this event? I was involved in that whole process, not just the transactional part of it. It was so I grew to love my customers and they wanted to come and always talk. We would spend an hour out in the parking lot. What should have been a 10-minute transaction, we spent an hour talking, right? And then so many
Mhm.
people, this is God again, pointing you in the right direction. So many people say, you should really get into some kind of therapy or life coaching or something because there's something about you. I feel comfortable talking to you. I don't know how it is, Jessica, that I tell you this stuff because I've never told anyone this stuff, but I feel comfortable being myself with you. So you should really look into some kind of life coaching. And I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. It kept coming around, right? This is God confirm the universe confirming your gifts. It was when the pandemic hit, honestly, when I had the
Mm.
time, because previous to that, was in the rat race. I was doing the side hustle business, and we were all like, we had to stay home for 2 years.
Right.
My job shut things down. They sent me home. I was single, no kids. So it's like, what am I going to do with this extra time? There's only so many cakes I can bake. And I'm like, well, let me explore this life coaching thing. Let me look online and a few months later, I realized I was like, oh, okay. So I got my life coaching certification through TonyGaskinsAcademy.com. He's a relationship coach. So interestingly enough, it's coming full circle now that I'm supposed to mentor people, not just in business, but in relationship building, in romantic relationships, and how to have a relationship with yourself, and how to really keep good connections with friends and people who you can help and who can help you. So that's how it came about.
So,
Yeah.
were you when people were coming over, was it mainly females at the time? And or was it both?
It was both, and it's funny because some of the guys came over and they didn't want a regular cake. Listen, I would have to tell the guys, I'm gonna meet you out in the parking lot because you ain't coming in my house. I'm a home
Uh,
baker, right?
mhm.
So it was funny. So some of them would just order because they had other agendas,
Mm.
but then I had to create
Typical
those boundaries. Yeah,
typical
typical.
guys.
And some of the guys were good guys, right? But their wives couldn't cook like me. So they would say, hey, Jess, we were cool like that. So they'd order. And they were like, just don't tell my wife, I ordered this or whatever. So they'd order. Yeah, we're going to keep it between me and you. Just send me the invoice and just I'll have somebody else come pick it up. But yeah, don't tell her that I ordered it from you. But I would say majority of them about 80% of my customers still are women. I get about
Uh,
10-20% of men. But after, I realized that they're not just coming just for the cake, they kind of lose interest.
oh,
And then the other
they're coming for the cake.
then
Trust.
they want some other cake.
Trust on that. For you guys.
Ah, yeah,
Yeah, that
yeah,
sounds about right. That sounds
yeah.
about right. So that's interesting. So now when you took a course, you said on that, right? Go back to what you did on that. On when you went searching to what that looked like, what
Yeah.
course did you take, and how did that kind of help project you into that direction,
You know what?
into that
So
life coaching?
there's several life coaching certifications out there, and it's not anything that you could go to school for and get like a degree in. It's not regulated by the state. So it really is dependent on your
Hmm.
natural gift and the information that you get, the technical information that from the school that you choose, the certification course that you choose. Some of them were like spiritually based. So some of them were you have spiritual life coaches, and I think there's certainly a market for that. Some of them were relationship based, which is the one I chose, where you first you had to heal yourself. So the course that I went through 30 days of detox, right? It was 30 days of detox, 30 days of no social media, 30 days of journaling, 30 days of reflection, meditation, of healing yourself. Because how am I going to coach someone if I'm still struggling with the same things?
Hmm.
So if my issues were relationships, I had an issue, I had daddy issues. I had to heal those things. And it was a whole process of me writing it out on paper and really seeing that these things exist. And I wrote a letter that I never gave to, it was a healing letter. I wrote a letter to my father. I never gave to him. And I love him to this day. Pa, if you listen to this, I love you to this day. But we're talking about 30 years ago, when he was a kid, the things that
Right.
were impressionable on me. I had to write a healing letter on everything I wish I could have said and had the words at that time. And not only forgive him for what he didn't know, but I had to forgive myself for playing a part in that. Sometimes we forget that part. We always want to point the fingers and say, you did this, you did that. But what part didn't I play? When didn't I speak up when I was supposed to speak up? When did I have passive aggressive actions in my older years with him that I could have, verbalized what I wanted to say, but then I acted, in a different way because I didn't want to face it. So it was a whole healing, the 30 days of detox from other people from TV, from social media, so that I could really focus on the areas that were holding me back. So when you come out of that detox, you really come with a sense of clarity, of purpose. And again, during that time, I was going through the Bell's palsy. So when you show up for your clients, now it's about them. It's not about you. We don't talk, when my clients, I don't talk about that me myself. I talk about them. I ask them the questions, and hopefully they're in a position to answer them back for themselves, right? So
Yeah, interesting that you have. I speak about this quite often that you have when you have extreme ownership in yourself, that's when you can help others, and until they have ownership of what they have, it's the same thing. I see that quite often. So listening to you talk about that, having that ownership is quite, that's quite something right there for sure.
it frees you. It really does free you from the opinions of others. It frees you from the identity you had in your former self. It frees you from the uncertainty of life. You're like, you know what? I carry now I travel light because I've the baggage that was in my past is gone. So I don't have to worry about the girl that dated different guys, the player, the married man. I did it all, because I was in a bad place with my self-worth. I didn't know the love from a man. And that person who made the bad choices 10 and 20 years ago, I don't have to worry about her anymore because she's healed. I present myself differently now. So when you can travel light in this world, Mark, when you can finally forgive yourself and the other people who have hurt you, you're limitless. Now you have the energy and you have this everything, the essence to go out there and make an impact on the world. You're excited about the possibilities because now you know for your own self that, man, it's all in your mind. The mindset piece is the most important part in transformation. And now we can go help other people.
Yeah, that's some powerful stuff. That's real
Yeah.
good. So let's talk about, and now you've let's incorporate the baking and the coaching. Let's talk about how you got to merge that, right? So do you have times that people get to come and bake with you, and then you talk, or how does that all go about? How does that work?
So several different, so with having my cake classes, one thing that I like to do is have themed classes 2 or 3 times per year. I just recently for Christmas did a Polar Express cake decorating class for mommy and me's, and it was moms who brought their daughters or their sons to the class who that was their time to bond. So if you can think about this, they didn't have to do any of the shopping. They didn't have to do any of the baking. I provided everything, their buttercreams, their sprinkles, and everything there. Hi, Emilio. Look, he says, hi, family. So I provided everything that they would need so that their time, their hour and a half could be based, they could be in the same proximity and doing a similar task and bond and smile at each other and take pictures and have the memory and eat because our emotions are tied to our stomachs. So that's how I bring that together, that dynamic. For Valentine's Day, I'm doing something for just the women, kind of like a sip and paint thing, but with cakes. So that's the whole relationship part. That's how someone can have a minimal investment, right? My classes are cheap, like $49. I think for the couple it's like 75. They can come for a few hours, leave with an experience, and leave with the food that they create. If they want further interaction with me, I invite them to my Facebook group where I post self development things and inspirational quotes. And for those who want continued interaction and like that one-on-one healing, that's when I introduce them to my course. That's so we still play on the puns of cake decorating, but we get into the more serious stuff there.
So so let's go back to the Polar Express. Okay, I want to
Uh
know
huh.
what that's those things you can't see it above me here, but I'm a real train fanatic, and
Yeah.
I got trains on my ceiling in my office and all kinds of stuff, and that's something that I love. And so when you had somebody come, well, first of all, do you do this at your house, or do
I,
you do
I I
you
rent a I have another space that I can
or
work
you have
out of.
another space that you can
Yeah.
that you now do they come? Do they start from ground zero? Do they bake and do they then decorate, or do you have the cakes ready and then they decorate? How does that look at? How does that work?
Yeah, so for the purposes of their bonding and for relationship building, I don't have them do the whole step by step process. I have everything with my assistants. We set out everything for them. So really the focus is, let's say you and your daughter, let's say your daughter is really into cake decorating. She says, "Dad, I want to take this class. They're serving hot chocolate for the Polar Express. It's Christmas time. Can we
Mhm.
just go for an hour or two? Like, I really want to go." And you're like, "Okay, yeah, you can come into my class and just be like, okay, I don't know where to start, Jess, but everything's out there. And I have the piping bags. I show you a couple of, techniques, but it doesn't have to be perfect. It's more about you and your daughter spending time making something, being Instagram worthy, saying, hey, taking the picture, having something to go home with, and you have something beautiful to eat and having that experience. For those
That's
who want more technical cake decorating, I also have a program. It's a 6-month technical cake decorating course that will teach you everything from layer cakes to wedding cakes. Everything that took me 10 years to learn by myself on YouTube videos in the kitchen, I can show you step by step in 3 to 6 months how to do everything in your own kitchen and monetize that. It's a business boot camp
so you
for the
have so you have layers to what you do then. So you have
absolute.
this fun, this like you see here, like across the street from me, right? You can come and paint and sip wine and paint or whatever. Uh, and then I guess they all chit chat and do their that's almost too girly for me, but the uh this stuff sounds fun though to me. This is being able to do that, and then you have something where you can take if you want to take a cake decorating case and see if you can make money with this, and then you have techniques where you can teach somebody to be professional at what they do, and
Yes.
then you have this coaching. So I think we need to talk into this coaching here. So let's talk about what you got a couple things coming up now. So let's talk about because I think you're doing something with Raul. Is that correct? Are you guys doing this together? And is it virtual or is it in person, or how does this work? What do you have coming up on your plate here?
That's a good question. So, we definitely want to reach the masses. This one is a virtual event coming up February 11th. It's called The Yummy Truth That Love Comes After Healing. Oftentimes, we have this idea that Valentine's Day is coming and I need these flowers, I need these candies, and I have all of these confused thoughts on, is he really my boyfriend, or how do I navigate this day, or I'm single, maybe you don't have anybody and you just want to focus on yourself. But we're going to talk about the truth about love, and it really starts with self-love. Your romantic love and your partnership with the other person is just an extension of how you love yourself. Raul and I came together at both parts in our lives where we were both single and we had gone through some experiences and we were on the other side of them. But then we saw the value in each other, and it was more of our purpose together after we had learned to love ourselves. So it's not
Mm.
that you're attracting someone to fill the hole in your heart. They should put your self-esteem that you're feeling lonely. No, you have to be healed and whole so that you can contribute something to that to them. You have to be 100% and they have to be 100%. That's when it's really going to work. So then we also have people on the panel who have several different experiences, divorcees, some people who have been widowed and gone through loss, some people who have lost children, and this day is hard for them. Valentine's Day it covers several different aspects of love. So on our panel of speakers on that day, we're inviting everyone who is either healing, grieving, or just in a state of confusion who wants clarity on what love is and how they should feel about themselves in that season. February 11th is from 8:30 to 1 Eastern Standard. And if you go to my Facebook page, it's pinned at the top. It's like $49. And it's not going to make us rich, but it's an investment in your healing. It's a seed for
Mhm.
your harvest on the other side. So
Yeah, that's good. That's yeah, interesting that so you'll have people that have come from all different you're going to have speakers that are coming from different aspects, right?
absolutely.
Because I guess that's true too, coming from divorce, right? That was a brutal Well, divorce is kind of brutal anyway. You know what I mean? There's nothing fun about it, man. I'll tell you that for a fact. You come out of that on the other side of just like, what the frick? It's just, it's like I've been in a 20 round fight and I've lost every freaking round. You know what I mean? And and so you come out of that pretty good and beat up, but still have to put on the face of I got kids and stuff like that. So, but I
Yeah.
got lucky. I got lucky that I got to raise my children. I wouldn't have been good as a weekend dad, and I would never have been good with another man in my kid's life. I'm not built for it, and I would have killed somebody. I'll tell you that for a fact. And it was
Wow.
just it was hard for me to get through that. Now, I'm older now. My kids are all adults too, so we have a different kind of a talking relationship about how that was. And of course I didn't hit it out of the park either. You know what I mean? I wasn't always the my kids had to grow up fast. They just it was what it was. Probably the same thing as what you're doing. My kids had to start doing their laundry and stuff at 8 years old. And I said, hey man, you guys are going to have to be responsible for some of this stuff. This is just how our family is. We have a broken family, and this is just this is the way it's going to be. And but we came out, we came through it. I got some good kids, man. And my oldest son is married now. He's got an awesome wife, and I'm stoked for him. And I think that's the biggest thing I tell my children. If there's anything you're going to do in life, whoever you pick to live your life with, be extremely picky and make sure it's a real fit, because that can make and break your life for sure. And it's awesome to see my own folks. My dad is my dad's always been kind of a hard worker, but I'll roll up on my folks. My dad's 80 and my mom's 82. You wouldn't know it. They're both super active and stuff like that. But I'll come to see my folks, and my dad will be holding my mom's hand watching movies on the TV still today. You know what I mean? So it's always been a good role model that way for our family. So, well, that's good. So you have another event that you said that's coming up, right? This one's in February. You have something else in March. What's that one?
So yeah, the virtual event is February 11th. Again, they can go to my Facebook page and it's pinned at the top for more information and how to register.
Yeah, I'm
But
going to
my
put that.
live,
I'll put that out there for you also on this after this, and on the audio. I'll make sure that this is out there that people can do that, and we'll put that stuff out there when we share this out on social media. So, what's the next one now? Is that an in-person one you got coming up?
in-person event in Orlando, Florida. So if anyone is willing to travel down here to Florida, let me tell you, it's going to be warm and sunny, and we're going to be playing with cake decorating. So one day event, March 8th, in Orlando, Florida. And I'm just really, it's called the Yummy Coaching Experience. So if you've ever had a question on how to do cake decorating, where to start. I teach you some fundamental aspects of it. We also have a good time. There's a DJ, there's some motivational speakers, so you get the inspirational part of it. And we with the goal of building our self-esteem, building the confidence, relationally bonding, and learning a few things. It's the whole Yummy Coaching Experience. It's what you would get from me out in the world in just one day of an event. So I'm excited. March 8th, Orlando, Florida, yummycoachingfactory.com. That's where you can get more information on that and secure your ticket.
So that now let's talk about that event. So what's that one doing? So it's called Yummy Coaching. So what's going on in that? So is it more cake decorating? Do you have some? You say you have some speakers. So how do you merge that together? How that just sounds fun.
So yeah, so it's a 6 to 8 hours, and we kind of break it up. Have you ever been at a business, at like a business event? You're sitting all day, and you're bored, and you're just like you need a break. No, we break it up. So I have maybe a speaker introduce, the program, give us some kind of inspirational message on whatever they do. It could be business, it could be mindset, and then we'll go into a cake decorating contest. I'll split whoever wants to participate. We'll do teams. Everybody puts on an apron. And at my last event, I had guys putting on pink aprons. They were ready to go. They were really excited. So you get a team of 3 or 4 people, and we kind of mimic the show Nailed It on Netflix, where I give you an image. You have to make a replica of that image. You may have 30 minutes, and all of your minds have to come together really quickly, collaborate. Okay, how are we going to structurally put this together? How are we going to create it? Who's going to be the presenter? Who's going to be the person taking time? So it's really like a team building type of thing. And afterwards you get to eat and everything, socialize. We take a break afterwards. We have the judges come and do the deliberations, and we have a grand prize winner. And then I may give, we'll have another segment where somebody gives us some perspective on how you can build a business from this, or think of the opportunities that you can expand. It's just not one day, but if you really enjoyed this, think about the opportunities you have to impact someone's life and make a little extra change on the side if you wanted to. And then we take a break. Then I'll give you some how-tos. I kind of break down my program on how-tos. And then we'll have a few other speakers come in, and then a networking event at the end. So it's really a one-day immersive type of experience. That's why it's called the Yummy Coaching Experience, because you get the mindset piece, you get the building blocks for your business, and you also have a little bit of fun. I mean, you can't go wrong there.
Yeah, I mean the whole thing that sounds like super fun, and I'll I'll make sure that I told you before I travel out to Savannah all the time, right? And
Yeah.
Savannah's kind of driving distance from you guys, so I'll let people know what you have going on out there, and make sure you introduce you to those, because I'm out there all the time.
Yeah.
And we did talk about, well, you have the second rate Disneyland. We have the original. So, I mean, where it all started, you know what I mean? So,
I mean, if you're willing to come out for my event, I'm willing to step out with you in Disney, and then we can have a real hard conversation on what's important. We'll talk about what's important, because I'm still not with you. I mean, I think mine is the better Disney, but we're going to see. We're going to
that's
see.
now, have you been to the original?
Oh, I'm not going to lie to you. I've never been to California. I need
Never
to
been
come
to
out.
Cali. So,
No.
and just so you know, I've never been to Epcot either. I've never been, as much as a Disney freak and as much as I travel to Georgia, I've never gone to Disney World. I don't know why. Because it looks awesome, and plus I love Florida anyway. When the whole world was shut down, you guys were wide open. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it's something that I do have on my bucket list. But yeah, I guess I'll have to use you guys. We'll figure out a time when Raul's down there too, and we'll see if we can all make that happen. Maybe I can bring my cat with me,
Yeah.
and see if we
Family
can
affair.
make a Walt Disney Day out of that, because that would be
So
kind of
he
fun.
he will be here. He will be here March 8th for the event. So if you want to make it out for that day, he'll be here in Orlando. He's a speaker as well. He does his poetry readings for his book, Rise with Gratitude: Poems to Inspire Your Growth and Greatness. He's reading from that. And we have Dr. Obam Bowen, who's going to be a speaker. We also have Andre Butler, who is a performer. Who else do we have? We have Arthur Brown, who's a performer. So that if you go to yummycoachingfactory.com, it'll tell you all of the lineup of my speakers, all of my performers. Raul's on there, so it'll be worth your time and money if you decide to come out. And we'll take you to downtown Disney and Epcot, since you've
And
never been.
so you have Obama coming now. Let's see, at the business book camp, did you listen to him on Sunday morning, or I don't remember seeing you and Raul in the room. Were you guys there or no?
I was there. He's actually my mentor. I'm in his program, The Underdog Millionaire. So
That,
he is my mentor. Yeah, he's
so
amazing.
that's the first time I really kind of got to meet him. But I'm telling you what, man, that boy was. I mean, he was getting after it on Sunday morning. All right, I was like, oh man, we just stepped right back into church right here. Let's go. And
Yeah,
yeah, he was awesome, man. I really enjoyed him a lot. So
yeah, yeah,
so you got him. You're gonna have him at the event too. Then that's awesome.
yeah.
That's good.
Interest. So the one day event is the precursor to his event. We're sharing the same venue. So I am the first day. Miami Coaching Factory, and I'm a product of his program. He helped me last year as my mentor build the business and get my mindset right and everything. So I take the first day. Then he has uh, his 4-day event in the same venue after that. So check it out. It's also on yummycoachingfactory.com. Either you can get the ticket for the one day, or you can stay for the 5 days, which includes his. I think that
I think I'm
goes
gonna
like
post
$100.
that. So it's let's put that in here. Let me put So I'm going to put this out while we're talking. Yummy.
Huh?
It's at yummycoaching.com, right?
YummyCoachingFactory.com.
Oh, factory. Okay, hold on a second. Sure, it's pulling everything right.
Yeah. So you can either get the 1 day ticket for mine, or you can get the inclusive ticket for the entire 5 days, which includes his program as well.
Oh, so you guys kind of get to collaborate a little bit together
Yes.
too. Okay, so I put that out there,
Hmm.
and so this has been awesome to get to know you even a little bit more. I mean, we got to talk a little bit and share some laughs out there in New Jersey, so that was fun. And you know, and Raul has been if you go back, he's even a different guy than when I first interviewed him. We're gonna do another interview together, because when I interviewed Raul on this show, he was just then talking about I've been jumping on him. I said, you better freaking do that podcast. And then he's went ahead and started this. And his speeching was, his speech was, I'm not a big fan of losing, but if I had to, and it was, he took that speech contest to another level that day. So that was good. And you've been a really awesome thing for to come into Raul's life, man. So that was awesome to watch him grow as
Yeah, we don't like the word competition. We don't like that word. It wasn't a speak. We like to call them speaker journeys, right? It's the journey of someone.
Well, we
And
can call it whatever we want. There's a winner and a freaking loser. And I tell Raul all the time, I hate losing more than I like winning. You know what I mean? And but it definitely but I'll tell you what, man, there was some, and that speaker stuff, man, there were some hardcore stories up in there, man.
mhm.
When you kick back and listen to everybody's stuff on what they've overcome and stuff like that, it was good. But yeah, and it's funny when Raul has a mic. He's kind of a low key guy until he puts a mic in his hand and he has his music, and I'm like, who are you, bro? That's why I asked him. I said, who are you over here, dude? Because I don't see that. I said, you're kind of mild mannered outside of that until he has a little bit of a mic and some music, and oh my goodness,
No,
he's just about different.
he
So
loves people so much. So if you're ever, he's always thinking about someone else's needs. So if we're ever in a group, oftentimes we go out. He makes sure I'm taken care of. Any of my girlfriends that are with me, he's always thinking of other people. So when you give him a mic or an opportunity to where you give him permission to now be himself, it's like, wow, where did you come from? Well, no, he's always been there. But he loves people so much, and his heart is just of servant leadership, that in groups you won't see him stand out or give himself any show until you give him the mic, and then that's when you really get to see who he is. Yeah.
yeah, it was good, man. I've really enjoyed you too. I've really enjoyed. This was a great hour, man, for us. We'll definitely put this out here, and by the end of the day, I'll have the audio version of this also, so people that are driving and stuff like that, they can listen to what we talked about today.
Yeah.
And it's pretty awesome to see how you've taken and this baking to another whole new level of coaching um and what that looks like. It's pretty awesome. Zero. Always look at him put his little trophy up there. Oh, you little. Okay, that's okay. That's all right. That's all
That's
right.
between you guys. That's not between.
Yeah, that's
I'm not gonna say. I'm gonna stay out of that one.
That's funny. But then again, I do the same thing, so it's not even. That's just that's guy stuff right there. That's guy
Yeah.
stuff. You know what I mean? So it's fun to see that. I'll definitely make time for you guys next time. I don't know when I'm traveling again to Georgia. I've got some stuff coming up, so I'll make sure that I can get out there to see you on that. Now if I go out there, we need to go. I am going to need to see Downtown Disney, so you're going to have to show me what that's about. And I told Raul, when you go down to St. Augustine, to go see the Torture Museum, because it's brutal. Okay. It is if you haven't been to that I was telling Raul about it. I said, this torture museum is the most brutal thing I've ever seen in St. Augustine. And how what they've done, what they did is pretty intense. But you guys enjoy that. After you go through it, you're going to call me and go, I'm never going to be the same after what I just saw today. And so, and the
Yeah.
Father of the Year, I took my kids through that years back when it was first opening. So, as that's the St. Augustine thing that we went and saw, and the alligator farm in Florida. So, but this has been fun, man. I look forward to this. We'll get your yummy coaching out there, and let's see if we can't. You got a virtual event. We'll put that out there also, and I'll make sure all that stuff goes out in my social media, and then you get to share all this stuff with yours, and we'll get after it and see what we can do for you guys. Sound good?
It sounds excellent. I just want to thank you for having me on this show and just being a bright light and shedding and sharing your truth with everyone and just allow me in your space because it's really in collaboration where we're gonna do big things. We can't do anything in this world impactful by ourselves. So just again getting to know you a little bit more and learning how your intentions are as a good father. You want to be there for your girls and how this conversation can be the catalyst for a better relationship, a deeper relationship with them. And for
Yeah,
all the fathers out there, who are thinking that they're doing what they do, talk to your girls, give them a hug, tell them you love them. That's stuff that women need. That's really
yeah,
good.
yeah. That conversation is gonna happen for sure and stuff. So I think maybe what we do next time, why don't we do the couple thing? We'll have you and Raul on together, and we can talk about something there. I think that would be a good podcast. Um,
Awesome.
and
I'm
what
with
that
it.
looks like together. That'd be awesome. You know
Okay.
what I mean? All right,
Yeah.
guys. Well, I'll let you go, man. This hour's coming up. It came quick and gone. So I'll let you get back to your day, and we'll have this out on audio podcast by end of day. Sound good?
Sounds
All
good. Thank
right.
you, Mark.
Bye, you guys. See you later.
Bye,
See you,
guys.
Raul.
Ow.